I mean, you said data is the raw material. I would say data is the infrastructure that everything is built upon. So when we talk about Nigeria, you cannot have a prosperous economy without data. And the beautiful thing about Nigeria is that wherever you've got 2 or 3 Nigerians congregating, they create so much information and so much buzz. So I think we're not really short about data in the country because we're creating that in abundance. What we just need to quickly do is how do we utilize this data? And how do we hone the data as well, rather than allowing other people to come in to use our data, train on our data, and then you sell product to us. That's not a good approach that we need to adopt quite quickly. So I think that's something we need to do. I think recognizing that data is fundamental. I know that we've got the Data Protection Act, and I know that obviously, the Data Commission as well is doing a great work as well. But I think when you think about artificial intelligence, a couple of things we need to simply start doing is to see how government can release the government data in an open source so that we can have developers that are building on that so that we can solve our problems. I always say that is really important for Nigeria, for us to solve our problems. We should not delegate the problem to some other country to solve for us. So the other way we can do it is to ensure that our developers, our young people access our data about us, and then they can use that to build solutions to solve our problems. And I think it's really, really important. And I think that's the advantage that we need quite quickly. And we can do that very well. And I think we can look at the critical areas. So agriculture is one of them. National security is another one of them as well. Health is another part as well. Financial services is another part as well. So we can simply use our data to solve those problems using artificial intelligence. And you're right, data is the fabric of artificial intelligence, because without data, there's no artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's beautiful you have said that, but you've also mentioned something that stirs a greater concern. You've talked about open source data. Open source, it's out there. People can, can access it. What about the risk? What about the ethical questions it raises when it comes to AI, bias surveillance and all those kind of ethical issues that comes into play? How do we, cover this gap, especially when you're going to make it open to the young people? How do we cover this gap?
I think when people talk about young people, they think that these are like people that don't have bearings, or they're people that are coming out to do evil things. Our young people are quite smart. Our young people are very innovative as well. We've got to trust them. However, what we need to do is for the government to set the framework and the approach and the policy that is needed and the regulation that is needed. Once those guardrails are there, then the young people understand that the playing field, the level playing field, then the young people can then operate and behave accordingly as well, based on the policies and the regulations and the framework that is put together. And that's the reason why we need to move from an AI strategy that is in the draft, that we need to make sure that that strategy is applied quite quickly. And that's the reason why that the Digital Economy Act as well, bill, needs to go through and come to the other side quite quickly, so it becomes a law as well. And I think those things really matter. So I always say that we need to appreciate and embrace our young people, because they are super talented, but they just need investment and direction. And I think that's where we need to ensure that we're putting our energy as well. And I think once we do that, we definitely have a very cohesive system, an ecosystem that works for everybody and for all these key stakeholders, not just in the public sector, but also in the private sectors as well. And I think once that comes together, we definitely see an economy that is thriving, that works for everybody and not just for some few.
Yeah, it's beautiful you've highlighted that Nigeria has a set of young people who are highly innovative. And if the framework is in place, then they can work to do greater things for the nation. That brings me to the question of sovereignty, because if China and all the other big ones are investing in AI sovereignty, do we have the capacity, to be a sovereign nation with our own AI, to be a sovereign nation on our own data, to be a sovereign nation internet-wise? Do we have what it takes? Or is the technology something that we still need to borrow somewhere? How does this play out?
I mean, I think we do. The quick answer to that question is that yes, we do. But I think just beyond sovereignty as well, I always tell people we are looking at data at the moment, but think about the space, what's happening at the moment. People are actually going to the space. They are creating their own colony in the space as well, right? So it's really important for us to wake up quite quickly as well. So we're talking about data that we create, that people are talking about surveillance right in front of you that you can't even see as well. So we've got to ensure for a society, for a country like ours, we've got no other way. Data sovereignty is something that we've got to take quite serious as well, just like we're taking our own national security quite serious as well. And I think these are all part of our sovereignty component as well. So what I'm simply going to say is that it's really important that we need to start building those capabilities, and we've got to do it now. Because if we don't do it now, what would happen is we're then going to go use people's technology, people's system that they've built for us. And guess what? Rather than we becoming a free nation, we're going to be a colonized nation as well. And that's something that you and I don't want. And most people in this court today, we don't want to be colonized any longer again. So we want to live freely, and we want to ensure that we're prospering as a nation, because Nigeria is a great country, the most populous black nation in the world, if you go across the world, if you don't see Nigeria existing in those countries, you better pack up and leave as well. Definitely. So Nigeria is a country to be reckoned with. So we've got to take these things quite serious as well.
Yeah, so let's start ending from where we began. What really does an AI-powered future city, what does it really look like? What does it entail? To the average Nigerian, what does it entail?
It's a great question. So, for example, an AI-powered city would look like, take traffic, for example. The traffic would be managed by artificial intelligence as well, with smart machine learning to understand where there's hotspots around traffic congestion and what people need to do as well, so that people can be rerouted back quickly. And you're working with existing technology. So that could be the Google map, or that could be Suez, or that could be the Apple map as well, right? And that's really important. The other piece is that things like flood management as well. We are in the southern part of Nigeria, is prone to flood. So with an AI city, a higher technology, that can enable us to understand the map, not just mapping, geospatial mapping, but also ensuring that we're putting remedies in place, the remediations in place to ensure that when the rain comes, which is part of one of our seasons, it doesn't cause havoc as well with lives and properties as well. So another part about that is also going to be agriculture. You and I, we eat every day. Some people can argue they eat 1 square meal, some people argue 3 square meal, but we do have to create our food as well. We can use artificial intelligence to produce things. So within the city and also in the rural areas as well, because one of our challenges that we have in the country is deficiency around our infrastructure. So we don't need to go far away to plant stuff that we can plant within cities as well. I think those are the things, we can also do. Climate change is a big one as well. It doesn't matter wherever we are as a country. Globally, climate change is the big one. So we can use artificial intelligence to understand how our climate is changing as well. And I think one of the problems farmers face in Nigeria currently is around droughts, lack of water. We can also use artificial intelligence to ensure that the crops that we produce or we plant as well have the right ability to give the right yield as well. And I think there are several things across our life, and security is another big part as well. Be of note that we've got our own security challenges. So we can actually use AI to ensure that our urban areas are quite secured, and also our rural areas are quite secured as well.
All right.
And I think that's something that we need to do. It could be from facial recognition, where we need to monitor people and understand what's happening before those incidents happen. So there's so much we can use technology, and artificial intelligence is core in those things as well, not just in the city, but also in the rural areas as well, because this is really important.
Thank you very much. A special thank you to Mr. Abel for sharing your brilliant and urgent insights with us. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me, Nathaniel.